Hello, Monetization Nation. Today, I'm joined by Don Markland. Don is the CEO and owner of Accountability Now, an executive coaching and business strategy company. With more than 20 years of experience in the world of sales, marketing, leadership, and business growth, he uses his knowledge as a Forbes contributor for entrepreneurship, leadership, and sales. Don was the chief revenue officer for MoneySolver, a private equity financial services company where he spearheaded the radical growth to help them become nationally recognized and the largest tax resolution digital marketing financial services company in the US. He also spent 12 years with Focus Services, helping grow them from $7 million to more than $45 million. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today, Don.
Hey, Nathan, thank you so much. And I want to say thank you for providing a voice for so many that want to be in not just the monetization space, but kind of the entrepreneurship space. I think about when I started my first business with another owner and we were just trying to figure out entrepreneurship. There was no podcasting at the time. This goes back into 2010. And, we were trying to be entrepreneurs. We were reading books and we were talking to mentors and things. And if we had had a vehicle like this with other people on that we could have listened to and had some insight about mistakes and things to learn from, holy cow, we would have helped so much. So thank you for what you're providing and the voice you're providing and the help you're providing so many people. It's really cool.
Yeah. And I love being the host because I feel like I'm being mentored by all of these amazing experts like you. And I'm becoming much better of an entrepreneur myself.
That's very kind.
So can you start off by sharing with us something that you are super passionate about?
I've heard you ask this on other episodes, and people love to say two things a lot. They like to say, I love helping people and working with people. That answer comes up a lot. And I love entrepreneurship, right? I know that comes up a lot. So I'm going to put a spin on both of those because I don't want to say an answer that everybody always says. But I really am passionate about my family. So the reason I even decided to start my own business, the reason I decided to work with small business owners in my consulting and coaching practice was because for years, I was doing it wrong. My wife is a cancer survivor when she got diagnosed with cancer, and I was already a successful executive, and the business that I was involved with, we were already successful. We had grown and we were doing so many things right. I felt like I was already successful, but I was busy and I was overworked and overwhelmed, and I was doing like so many executives do. I was living the wrong life. And it wasn't until my wife got diagnosed and life punched me in the nose, and I realized, I think I'm misprioritizing somewhere. And that's what made me realize one of my favorite quotes by this guy named David O. McKay, which was, no success outside the home can justify failure inside the home.
I love that quote.
Yeah.
I love David O. McKay too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir. And so I changed the way I looked at things, and I realized my family, why I work is going to, why I work is, and why I work, what I work on is going to change. So that's what I do. And that's what I'm really, really passionate about.
Can you tell me the greatest home run that you've hit in your career?
The greatest home run that I hit in my career, there were two. The first one was the first business that I was an entrepreneur on was a company called Launch Leads. I was co-owners with another guy named Bubba. We were in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Bubba Page.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yep. I know Bubba. I've done lunch with him. Good guy. Great guy.
Amazing guy. Okay. And at one point, Launch Leads, we were in the hole. We were losing money. We were not succeeding. We knew we would succeed, but we weren't succeeding. And Bubba's amazing. Bubba, any of your listeners that know Bubba, you'll know Bubba. Bubba's a serial entrepreneur. Bubba, he's involved in about 10 billion things at once. And by the time I had joined the business with Bubba, Bubba was already starting his next venture. And he was like, hey, I want you to, I was chief operating officer at the time and starting to just figure out the business while he was off building his next thing. And so my task was to get this thing profitable, operational, and growing. And when we started to once we crossed the $1 million mark, we went from not even close to it, and we weren't profitable, to when we crossed 1 million and I got to see that on the ledger. That was when I realized everything that I had been practicing in corporate America, in other businesses, and all these things. When I had built it to that point and I got to see the 2 commas, I knew, hey, this works. What I believe in, what I know I can do. That was my first real home run that I thought, this is something that's duplicatable. That was a real home run. And then the second home run was when I built my own business from scratch, getting the very first sale. Was when it was my own idea, my own business, and actually being on the phone with somebody, selling the idea, and somebody said, yeah, I'll buy that. And actually seeing the money hit the bank account. It was, even though it was only $91, and I later ended up selling it for $10,000, right? But the first sale, right? There's something about building something from zero with an idea and getting it to actually see it hit a bank account. Nothing like that.
Yeah, those are 2 great home runs. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
What's the biggest failure you've had or mistake that you've made in your career? What'd you learn from it?
Biggest mistake I ever made. I lost my company. This was my last company. I lost $900,000 of marketing spend in 45 days. So you'll love this story. And this is awesome. Yeah. Do you want to talk about what I learned? And everybody listening has got to remember, you can't be afraid to take risks. Can't be afraid to go after it. Okay. And then that's important. So in my last business that and I'm still an owner in this business. And at the time, as chief revenue officer, a chief revenue officer is responsible for all revenue growth and all marketing spend. Some businesses don't have chief revenue officers, but a chief revenue officer is the merger of CMO and sales, right? It kind of merges both. And so I had a pretty big marketing budget. And during tax season, because we were financial services, boy, was I spending a lot of marketing dollars, and I had a lot of things going on at once. And I had signed up a particular vendor that I had vetted pretty well, at least I thought I did. And I'd allocated them $900,000 of spend over 45 days between March 1st and April 15th. But because I was juggling on a lot of balls, I forgot to check that all of their phone calls that they were going to be sending us was going to an actual live number. It's a stupid little mistake that I had people on my team that should have checked it, but I didn't check it. And all of their phone numbers went to a dead phone number. I mean, they sent me live calls that all went to a dead air number. And that means we spent money for them to generate us marketing live leads, and we didn't get a single one of those. So not only was it $900,000 of marketing spend, you think about the opportunity cost. It was a few $1 million of lost money. And so it was ugly. It was terrible, and it was costly. And I had to answer to the board, and I had to go do this big, long thing. And they grilled me pretty hard. And I answered right to them and said, listen, I would have done it again in a heartbeat. I would have spent that money in a heartbeat. I learned where my mistake was, where my due diligence was. I don't regret spending the money. I regret the process that I didn't follow to fix it. Can't be afraid to take risks. Can't be afraid to move quick. You do need to have processes in place to, watch your back and make sure things are taken care of. But entrepreneurs out there, small business owners, you have to take risks. You have to go after things. That business, I ended up generating them close to $30 million over the next 2 years, right? By taking similar risks and moving quickly. But that 45 days was not a great 45 days. And it was ugly for sure.
I'm sorry. That is no fun.
No.
I've made similar mistakes, not at the same magnitude, but and I've developed an internal philosophy to help prevent that, or a methodology. And I was even dealing with one of our team members today on this. And the concept is, it's not live until it's tested. Until you can't just tell me a lead form on a website is working, right? You've got to actually go send a sample lead through that lead form and receive it and make sure that everything looks good on it, right?
Yes.
And until it's tested, it's not live. So
right.
We
And
try, and those are painful
there's
lessons.
yes, and there's a big difference between moving quick and recklessness.
Yeah.
And it's a painful lesson I've learned many times. I expect speed, I expect urgency, but I don't want recklessness. And that's a delicate line because sometimes people are so cautious and so patient. Now they borderline slow. And I'm like, hey, I don't want slow. I want urgent now and movement, but I don't want reckless, right? I don't want just wild. So you have to, you have to toe the line and, be urgent and now, but don't be reckless.
Yeah, and a lot of that line, at least in my mistakes in that area, have come from not testing it, not
Correct.
either testing it before you rolled it out with your customers, or not testing the technology before you
That's right.
rolled it out.
That's right. Yep.
What do you think is the biggest tectonic shift that is transforming the business landscape today?
And it somewhat flows into what we were just talking about. Okay. So there will continue to be movements in social media. Okay. So like there's Clubhouse will come and go, but and the next one will come and go. TikTok shot up, and it's businesses being able to capitalize and then monetize off of every new social platform, as consumers move away from phone calls. Now they won't ever stop phone calling, but there's still going to be phone rooms. There's still going to be your call centers. There will always be call centers and phone rooms. Okay? Even though there will be restrictions on it, and there will be more regulation on how much you can call. But customers more and more are wanting to communicate via their Instagram feed, their Facebook feed, their Snapchat, their TikTok Messenger, you name it. And that entire shift over the next 5 to 10 years, you better believe every major company will have to have some sort of communication and monetization channel through social media platforms. So if you're trying to communicate with your customers, if you're trying to monetize, if you're trying to collect payments, if you're trying to issue orders, you better be able to do it through Snapchat, through TikTok, through whatever social channel, and you better be able to implement it through a new social channel quickly.
Yeah.
That will and is coming, because if you're just thinking, well, I can only do it through a phone call, through a credit card, you're going to get left in the dust, right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to do it. Hey, I'll just message you on TikTok, send me, give me your Google Pay, give me your Apple Pay over TikTok. Beautiful. Got your order. You're good.
Yeah. So you're talking about the power of leveraging other platforms
Yes.
and being able to
Yep.
monetize those other platforms. Okay.
Correct.
So there's a couple of tectonic shifts we talk a lot about as well. And what you shared is fabulous. In addition to that, we talk a lot about credibility marketing. And in the past, businesses used to buy as much advertising as they could get and then use that to tell the world how awesome they were. And that model doesn't work very well anymore. People aren't trusting what businesses say about themselves. And so businesses are turning to much more credible marketing sources. Can you share with us any stories or secrets that you have about credibility marketing?
Yeah, the reputation management is so it's a wild west out there right now. Okay, there's a lot of ranking sites that pop up just about every 5 minutes. Okay, I did that for dramatic effect. It was super funny. Yeah, there are a lot of ranking sites that you can go on there. And full disclosure, there are many ranking sites that you can pay to play, right? I could get, Monetization Nation is the number one podcast on a ranking site like that. Okay. It's very, very easy. Many sites just offer, hey, you stroke me a check, I'll get you number one on this site and I'll get you 100 reviews. Okay. So it's just like the early days of Amazon and Google reviews. So you go back to 2006, 2005, you could buy Amazon and Google reviews. And I'm not saying I did that, but let's just say some people like myself might have gotten in trouble for being involved with some of those things. I wouldn't know that. I'm just saying you could get Google slapped and it was ugly if you did
Yeah.
that. Okay. And it wasn't, look, it was the Wild West. Nobody knew if you were doing it right or wrong. You just knew you could. Okay. And then now you have these ranking sites. There are some that are unbelievable and credible. There's a company called Best Company. They're based out of Utah. They're down in Linden. I give them extremely high marks. They have a very strict down the line algorithm that it's all based on reviews. They're really strong. There's a new company out of Australia. They're called Bark. I'm not affiliated with them, so I don't mind calling them out. Like I'm not getting
Yeah.
kickbacks on them. There's a company called Bark. They're out of Australia. They just launched in the United States. They're really strong. And they base it all on reviews. They base it all on what people do. But you have to take care of your online reputation. You have to get strong testimonials, and small business owners and big ones aren't doing enough. And typically it's because they don't have a system. They don't train their salespeople. They don't train their customer service. They don't train their entire team how to ask for reviews. This is actually something I do in my coaching practice. We train everybody in a business how to ask for reviews the entire time. People think you can only ask for a testimonial once you've done the work. That's ridiculous. You can ask for a testimonial during the intro call. You can ask for a testimonial right when we say hello. I can ask for a testimonial in the sales process. I can ask for a testimonial anytime. As long as you feel good, I can ask for a testimonial whenever I want. It doesn't matter. And so you can sometimes get 3 or 4 testimonials from a business all along the value chain. Who cares? And
Yeah.
we train that over and over because your online reputation is the best indicator of future business. And you need it everywhere you can. Facebook, Google, Yelp, Best Company, all these sites, you need it everywhere because people are going online. And for whatever reason, when they see it online, they believe it is truth, right? They see it and it's just real.
Can you think of an example of a company that's effectively leveraged credibility marketing well?
I mean, there's a number of them. I'll give you, this is going to sound self-serving, but my last company, when I was at Money Solver, okay, we were in a sour industry. This is actually how one of the ways we got to our number one rating as the number one. You cited it when you were talking about my bio and how we got rated as our number one financial services company in the country. The reason why the tax relief business is an ugly industry. It's got a negative kind of review across the country. People don't trust it. And we had over 3,000 5-star reviews because I had developed a system of what I just described of how we generated 5-star reviews throughout the whole process, all throughout the value ladder. Everybody was constantly looking for emotional triggers. Anytime somebody had a positive experience, we had a very clear script with texting. Like I'd be like, hey, Nathan, well, God, sounds like you're having a good experience. Can you do me a favor? They'd say yes. Great. I'd love it if you left me a 5-star review on, and we'd say the site, Google, and it would rotate. We had a whole proprietary system of where it would rotate through different sites, and it generated all of our reviews, and no company could compete with us. And it drove our competitors crazy. Like, how do these guys generate so many in this negative of an environment? And that's how we handled it.
It feels like the company that is the most and highest reviewed company in an industry is going to win, right? It feels like that's almost a guaranteed recipe for success. It's almost like that should be our digital strategy at this point.
Right. If you don't have an online reputation strategy, you're 10 steps behind. And everybody in your business should be on board with it, right? If you go back like 10 years ago when everybody was talking content marketing, remember that 10 years ago, everybody was saying, we need a content marketing strategy. And they were bringing big consultants in and everybody was, what's our social content? And, they do all this. Everybody should be on board with your online reputation management strategy, because everybody in one way or another is going to touch a customer. Everybody in some fashion is going to have some sort of impact. Collections is going to touch a customer. Great. You should be able to ask for a testimonial, right? Accounting could touch a customer. IT might involve a customer somehow. I don't care. If you could touch a customer, you better be ready to ask for a positive testimonial, and you better do it the right way. Everybody's on board with this, and you better flood the market with them.
Thank you so much, Don, for sharing your stories and insights with us today. Here are some of my key takeaways from this episode. Number one, no success outside of the home can compensate for failure in the home. Number two, as entrepreneurs, we will make many mistakes. We should learn to be grateful for them and see them as learning opportunities. Number three, we should try to capitalize and monetize off of every new social platform. Number four, if we don't have an online reputation strategy, we're 10 steps behind. We can build our online reputation and credibility through reviews and testimonials. Number five, we can ask for a review at any point in the customer journey. To learn more about or connect with Don, you can find him on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. You can also check out his podcast and his book. And there's links to each of these sites in the blog post for this episode at monetizationnation.com. You can also get a free copy of my ebook about passion marketing at passionmarketing.com and learn how to become a top priority of your ideal customers. You can also subscribe for free to Monetization Nation on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, our Facebook group, and on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I wish you success as you prioritize your family and increase your reviews and testimonials. Do you want to become a better digital monetizer? To receive great monetization stories and secrets, please go to monetizationnation.com and join free. And if you liked today's episode, please subscribe to the show and share it.